He tried to save a life, and they called him the murderer, not the man who actually did it. Him, the man who stopped, the man who knelt down in the blood and held a stranger's head off the cold, wet ground. The man who called the police himself.
I called you. I found him like this. I called you.
They called him the murderer. And what came next were 14 months that took everything from him. His job, his home, the woman he loved, his name, all of it gone. Because he stopped to help. Stay with me, because before this story ends, you're going to ask yourself one question. Would I have stopped? And your answer might surprise you. If you were walking alone through a dark alley at night, and you saw a man lying on the ground bleeding, what would you do? Most people say they would stop and help. Marcus actually did, and it cost him 14 months of his life. This is not a story about whether helping is right or wrong. This is a story about what happens when the world decides that being in the wrong place at the wrong time is enough reason to destroy a person. This is the true story of Marcus. Marcus was 28 years old. He lived alone in a small apartment on the 3rd floor of a building that smelled permanently of cooking oil and old carpet. He drove a delivery van 6 days a week, sometimes 7. He was not rich. He was not the kind of man people write stories about. He just worked, paid his bills, and sent money to his mother Gloria every single month, without fail. He had a girlfriend named Diane, 2 years together. On good weeks, they cooked together on Sunday evenings.
Are they ready?
Just in time. Coming right
On
up.
bad weeks, the job took everything, and they barely spoke. Marcus was the kind of man who helped his elderly neighbor carry groceries up 3 flights of stairs without being asked.
Thank you for helping me with these groceries, Marcus. You are very kind.
The kind of man who left a tip, even when the service was poor, because he knew what it felt like to work hard for very little. He was by every measure a good person, and in this story, that means almost nothing. It was a Thursday evening in October. Marcus had just finished his last delivery of the day, a large box of medical equipment, to a clinic on the east side of the city. He was tired. His back ached from loading and unloading all day. He wanted to go home, eat whatever was in the fridge, and sleep. He took the alley shortcut. He had taken it at least 100 times before. It cut 4 minutes off his walk to the van. 4 minutes does not sound like much, but when you are that tired, 4 minutes feels like a gift. The alley was narrow, one flickering yellow streetlight overhead, wet concrete from the rain earlier that evening, the smell of rubbish bins and old brick. He was halfway through when he saw him, a man lying face down on the wet concrete, completely still, one shoe missing, a dark stain spreading slowly from beneath his head. Marcus stopped. He stood there for 3 seconds, maybe 4, just looking. Every instinct told him to keep walking, to not get involved, to pretend he had not seen anything. But Marcus was not built that way. He moved closer. He knelt down beside the man. The man was breathing, shallow and irregular, but breathing. There was a wound on the back of his head, blood on the concrete beneath him. Marcus put 2 fingers on a man's neck. Faint pulse. He pulled out his phone and called emergency services. The operator told him to stay on the line and keep the man as still as possible. Marcus stayed. He held the man's head gently off the wet concrete. He talked to him softly, even though the man could not respond. He stayed for 11 minutes until the police arrived. 11 minutes. That number will matter later. The first officer through the alley entrance stopped. He saw a man on the ground. He saw another man kneeling over him. He saw blood on the kneeling man's hands, blood on his jacket, blood on the concrete. Around both of them, he drew his weapon. Marcus froze. He raised both hands slowly, his phone still in his right hand, the emergency line still open. He said, "I called you. I found him like this. I called you."
I called you. I found him like this. I called you.
It did not matter. Within 60 seconds, there were 4 officers in the alley. Marcus was pulled to his feet, his hand replaced behind his back, and he was walked to the alley entrance. A detective arrived 8 minutes later. Detective Reyes. She stood at the alley entrance and looked at the scene for a long time, without speaking.
The victim is male, late 30s, single gunshot wound to the chest. Looks like the perp dragged him from the street.
And she looked at Marcus. Then she opened her notebook, and she began to ask questions in the flat, calm voice of someone who has already decided what the answers are. What is your name? Where do you live? What were you doing in this alley? Do you know this man? Marcus answered everything, calmly, clearly. He had nothing to hide. Then the questions changed. Why did you wait 11 minutes before calling? Why are your fingerprints on the victim's jacket? Why does your GPS show you entered the alley from the north end, the same direction the attacker fled? Marcus explained everything. He had hesitated for a few seconds before approaching. He had touched the man's jacket, trying to turn him over to check for breathing. He always entered the alley from the north, because that was the shortcut from the clinic. Every answer he gave was true, and every answer he gave looked worse than the one before it. By midnight, Marcus was sitting in an interrogation room, under a single fluorescent light. Detective Reyes was on the other side of the metal table, and his life was already beginning to come apart at the seams, though he did not fully understand that yet.
Look, I know how this looks, but I swear to you, I am telling the complete, honest truth.
Marcus was released after 48 hours. No charges yet, insufficient evidence to hold him longer, but the damage was already done. His supervisor at the delivery company called him. The morning after his release, there had been a report in the local news. A man had been attacked in an alley. A suspect had been taken in for questioning. A delivery driver. His supervisor said the company could not afford the association. While the investigation was ongoing, Marcus was suspended without pay. He called Diane from outside the police station. She answered on the fourth ring. She said she had seen the news. She said she believed him. She said she just needed a little time to process everything. 3 weeks later, she stopped answering his calls. His landlord slid a note under his door, asking him to vacate at the end of the month. No explanation, just a note. Marcus sat on his worn sofa and looked at the city through the window and tried to understand how 11 minutes of doing the right thing had brought him here. For 14 months, Marcus lived in a gray, suspended state. He could not get another job. His name was in the news. Background checks flagged him as a person of interest in an ongoing criminal investigation. 3 companies turned him down without interview. His mother, Gloria, came to stay with him for 2 months. She slept on his sofa. She cooked. She cleaned. She sat beside him in silence, when silence was all he could manage. She did not tell him it would be okay, because she did not know if it would be. She just stayed. His court-appointed lawyer told him the evidence was circumstantial. No weapon, no motive, no witness placing Marcus as the attacker. But circumstantial, Marcus learned, does not mean nothing. Circumstantial means the jury gets to decide what they believe. The victim, James, recovered after 3 weeks in hospital. He remembered almost nothing about the attack. He could not identify his attacker. He could not confirm that Marcus had not been that attacker. And so the case continued. 14 months. 14 months after the night in the alley, a detective from a completely separate department was reviewing footage from a robbery investigation. 3 blocks away, he was looking for a robbery suspect. He found something else instead, a figure in a dark hoodie, moving quickly away from the direction of the alley at the exact time the attack on James had occurred, carrying something small and dark in his right hand. The figure's face was partially visible for less than 2 seconds as he passed under a streetlight. It was enough. A match was found in the criminal database. Within 72 hours, a man with a prior conviction for assault. His DNA was found on the victim's jacket collar, in a location inconsistent with anything Marcus had done. The case against Marcus collapsed in a single afternoon. Detective Reyes called him herself. Her voice was professional, flat. She said the charges would be formally dropped. She said he was free to go. She did not say sorry. Marcus walked out of the courthouse on a gray Tuesday morning, His mother was waiting at the bottom of the steps. She did not say anything. She just held him for a long time on the pavement while people walked past them. The delivery job was gone. The apartment was gone. Diane was gone. 14 months of his life gone. The man who actually attacked James served 4 years. Marcus never received a formal apology from the police department. His name was cleared in a brief report that received far less coverage than his original arrest. He rebuilt slowly, the way people rebuild when the damage is structural and deep. He moved to a different city. He found work. He kept going. And if you asked him today what he learned, he will not tell you not to help people. He is still the man who holds doors and checks on his neighbors. But he will tell you this: the moment he saw that man on the ground, he should have called emergency services immediately from a distance, without touching anything, without staying, and then walked away, leaving his name and number with the operator as a witness. That is it. That is the entire lesson. You can have a good heart and still protect yourself. Compassion does not require you to make yourself a target. You can care about what happens to someone without standing in the middle of a crime scene with blood on your hands. When the police arrive, good intentions are invisible. Evidence is not. If this story made you think, if you know someone who needs to hear this lesson before life teaches it to them the hard way, share this video with them right now. Because the lesson Marcus learned across 14 months of his life takes 30 seconds to pass on, and it might save someone everything. Drop a comment below and tell me honestly, would you have stopped? I read every single one. Subscribe for more stories like this. Real, raw, and always worth your time.